Hey everyone, how's it going? So what are we working on today? Well, I got that Honda Odyssey in the shop. The one with the rattling engine, and I'm pretty sure it's a timing belt. Well, I started to take the top of the motor apart. I couldn't film while I was doing this because there was a lot of noise in the shop and there's just no way I could do it. But I got the top covers off so I can inspect the timing belt. I'll show you the rest of the repair as I go along. But I'm pretty confident it's just something with the timing belt. I'm not going to restart the motor because I'm afraid if that belt actually breaks that I'm going to bend valves and stuff like that, and I don't want to do that because I'm pretty confident right now we're probably okay because it does start and run. But here we go. I have the upper covers off, and if you look, you can see a witness mark there from the belt slapping it. You can see a lot of debris on there. Same with this side, you can see a witness mark from where the belt was slapping it, and a lot of dust debris on there. See the sparkly stuff? That's dust. So here, looking at the belt, if you look closely, you can actually see where the belt is getting galled against something. What it is, I don't know. Now, this side of the belt is taut. However, this side is, I can't get my hand down there. See how loose that is? So I'm confident the noise we're hearing is the belt smacking against something. So all I did was the basics. I took the power steering pump out of the way. I sucked down the AC systems. I got the charge out of it basically. It only had a pound in it, so it probably has a leak somewhere. But now what I got to do is I have to take the tensioner off, which are a little bit of a bear. I got to take the crank pulley off, and on crank pulleys, if you don't have this special tool to get the crank pulleys off, and they've never been removed before, because I can almost guarantee you, if somebody removed that crank bolt at some point in its life, I guarantee you they didn't torque it correctly going back together. But normally an impact gun will not get that bolt off, normally. We're gonna try it first. If it doesn't come off, you need this special tool. Otherwise, it's a real bear to take off. If you're gonna do one of these, you may want to have this tool handy. You can probably pick one up on Amazon relatively inexpensively. I bought this probably 25, 30 years ago. I don't remember what I paid for it. I don't even know if it's a snap-on or anything. Does it even say? It doesn't say who makes it. So I'm not sure who I got this from. I couldn't tell you. I don't remember. I think I might have picked this up in a parts store, like gotten this off of one of the help shelves or, oh wait, it does say on it, hold on. What is this? Is it a Mac tool? Yeah, I think that might be a Mac tool. Interesting. I can barely read what it says there. I'll try cleaning that off and see if I can't read it. What I'll do is I'll take a piece of Scotch-Brite to it. But anyway, I gotta put this up in the air. I gotta pull the right front wheel off. I gotta take the shields off and start going that direction to get the rest of this apart. You gotta take the tensioner out because the tensioner is like dead in your way. I just worked around it to get that upper cover off, because if everything seemed fine with the belt, then I knew there was something else extremely wrong with this thing. So I kind of just did a shortcut version of getting everything apart when I did that. Anyway, so let's put this up in the air. I'm not gonna film every aspect of doing this job, but I'm gonna show you the highlights, the parts where you probably need a little advice and a little bit of, hey, what do I do here? And I'm gonna try to show you that. So, all right, let's get going on this, all right? So just so you can see this is a Mac tool, but I cannot make out that part number. Maybe you can. I'm sure you could probably look it up and see it. But what I'll do is, I'm sure that Amazon has a link for one of these things. Because as you know, I have a deep dislike for Mac tools. So I won't recommend them ever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So let's start getting this apart. So I got the wheel off, I got the fender liner out of the way. I just want to show you what's in here. So here's the tensioner, this hydraulic piston that they use, spring-loaded hydraulic piston. I'll tell you what, these things are a bear to move sometimes. It's a 12 millimeter here, and there's a 17 millimeter at the middle of this pulley that should be all that holds this whole thing in place. I gotta take that out, then I gotta take that 19 off, and judging by the condition of that bolt, somebody's been on it before. So, I'm gonna just try my gun and see if that'll come off. Let me grab a socket and let's see if that thing will actually come off of there. All right, let's back this up a little bit. The fact that it's already been taken off, let's see if it comes off. And it does. Okay, just as I suspected, it wasn't torqued correctly. Most people just zap them on with a gun. And there's really not a whole heck of a lot wrong with that. It's just that you don't get it torqued to the correct spec. Now, one thing you gotta be careful of on a Honda, you see that keyway right there? That keyway will fall out. That's gotta be at the 12 o'clock position. So, what I need to do, what I should have done actually, was I should have rotated that to the 12 o'clock position. Of course you can't see it because it's hidden, but there is a timing mark in the pulley here somewhere. I can't see it, but there's a timing mark that coincides with that pointer right there. So that pointer should indicate that that timing mark should be over in this area somewhere, but I can't see it. Usually in this back rib here is usually a notch. I don't really see it. Oh wait, maybe that's it. Right, yeah, there it is. You see those three little marks right there? See that? And one has almost like a reddish tinge to it. That's got to get lined up to center. So let me just actually throw that bolt in. But it did come out, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to throw that bolt in, and then I'm going to rotate the motor over, get it to top dead center, and then I can also see where the cams actually are, because I'm not sure if this thing jumped a tooth. I think it might have, but I'm not sure. But I don't think it created enough of a problem like bent valves or anything like that. All right, let me go get a long extension and a ratchet, because I like to do this part of this from on the ground. Like I like to let it down and do it that way. Just makes my life a lot easier. So let me do that. All right, so I hope you guys appreciate this. When I make videos like this and I'm all alone in the shop like I am today because it's a weekend, I usually have the radio blasting, but I can't do that because I'm recording. And I was listening to Pantera. So I had Pantera going, Cowboys from Hell, and I had to pause that while I'm doing this. I hope you guys really appreciate that. I'm a heavy metal guy. Older heavy metal, I can't stand that new screaming stuff. Anyway, so here I have a 19 millimeter, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to come down here and stick that on the crank. Like such. Then I'm going to go from up top and I'm going to rotate that motor till I can see what's going on. I'm not sure how well I can film this for you guys to see, but let's see. Oh, and I have a battery charger going on it only because I'm doing this work. I may as well charge the battery while I'm here, right? So here, I'm going to start rotating the motor. I will have to turn my light on in a second. So here you see the motor starting to rotate. Oh yeah, it is skipping teeth. Or at least the belt is flopping. Let's see, where are we? Oh, I actually just went past the mark. All right, so I just lined up the mark on the bottom. Oh, this thing is off big time. Wow, I hope it didn't bend valves. That's the reason I didn't start it. But down on the bottom, if you look at the crank, let's see. Here you see I have that lined up. But now, coming to the camshaft here, see that mark up top? Right there? That mark over there is supposed to line up to it, and it is way off. So yeah, we definitely have an issue here. So hopefully, I won't know until I put it back together. Hopefully we don't have a problem. Fingers crossed, I think it's gonna be okay, but I can't guarantee it. How far off is the back one? I can't tell. Probably gonna be just as far off. So there you see the upper mark on the cover, and there's the mark on the belt, or on the cam gear. So that's off quite a bit. Yeah, that's like 1/8 of a turn. So, well, hopefully it didn't hit valves. I guess we're gonna find out the hard way. All right, I was completely wrong in what I was saying, I think. Maybe, I don't know. But the dowel is in the wrong spot. So the dowel is in that position. I didn't rotate the motor any further. Let's see if you could see that. Yeah, you see that? Now I could swear that's where it's supposed to be lined up to. Unless it's supposed to be lined up to that mark, which I think that's what it's supposed to be lined up to. I think I made a mistake. My bad. See, I told you, I make mistakes. So yeah, I got it in the wrong position. Let me get it in the right position, and then let's see where we're at. Now I'm really curious. So all I did was put the bolt back in. I zapped it down with the gun lightly, just so I could back the motor up. All right, so it's close enough. It's just about a 12, not quite. All right, so it's roughly at the 12 o'clock position. See that? There's timing marks on the inside that I can use, so I'm not too worried about it. So now on these, luckily, these pulleys usually, and this one's not, they usually just slide right off. I might have to get something in between here to pry it off, but let me let it down and let's take a look up top and see how close those marks are. But yeah, usually that crank pulley just slides right off. Every once in a while you get one that's a bit of a bear. So for those of you in the beginning, when I first lined that thing up and showed you that, for those of you that know these motors and they're like, oh, you're making a mistake. Yes, I was, but I caught it. All right, it's pretty darn close. It's within a half a tooth, which is fine. See it? Close enough. Same in the back. See it? All right. So let's go back up. Let me get a pry bar and see if I can't knock that crank pulley off of there. Sometimes if you just give it a light tap with a hammer, it'll help jar it and get it to go free. So let's try that. Zoom back out. Okay. So all I'm doing is I'm taking a pry bar here. I know it's hard for me to articulate and show you, but all I'm doing is going to put a pry bar, if I can, in between here somehow. Not cooperating with me the way I want it to. Just a little bit of pressure. Don't go nuts. Don't go nuts whacking that with a hammer. That is not releasing nicely. Why is that? All right, I'm gonna have to move you out of the way, and unfortunately you're not gonna be able to watch this. But basically what you just saw me doing is kind of what I'm gonna continue to do. And it should come free, but you're kind of in my way, so it's kind of difficult to do this, but you get the idea. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes of me messing with this thing, and I finally got it to a point where it should, yeah. Now the reason that was so difficult to come off is because it wasn't torqued correctly. And it probably walked around a little bit, it got some rust in there. I'm gonna have to clean that up. But now, remember what I told you about being careful with that dowel pin? Or keyway, whatever you wanna call it. See, this one's actually stuck in there now. Probably because that thing wasn't torqued correctly. Usually, that thing will pop right out. And when I say right out, I mean right out. A lot of times I've seen people drop them, they fall. Seen that many, many times. One trick, if you lose that keyway, one trick I've seen people do is they find a Allen key. Now, yes, I know Allen key is got 6 points to it. But what they do is I've seen people take Allen keys, cut them down, and make them fit. I'm sure you could probably find those nowadays in part stores. Just telling you the things I've seen people do. So all I'm gonna do is take this, I gotta take the tensioner off still. I'm gonna get the tensioner off and I'm gonna take this cover off and then let's see what we have. So now you're interrupting Motorhead. Anyway, so let's pull the cover off. All right. So here we are, we got everything else apart. Let's drop this cover off. And let's see what's going on in here. I think the tensioner just failed. Yeah, that's all that happened. The tensioner failed. All right, not a big deal, but yeah. Wow, that thing's loose. Okay. Well, not a big deal. We're gonna do the water pump and everything else while we're here. May as well, because you gotta take all of this apart regardless. So, like I said, it's way too tight to get in here and actually show you every little last bit of this. Usually what I do is I will take the bolts out for the tensioner and let the tensioner fall off. There's a way to do this. There's a threaded hole here somewhere, I forgot where they want you to go in and it pushes on the actual, sorry, I know I wasn't filming it. It pushes on the actual tensioner arm somewhere to help you relieve the pressure from the tensioner. I've never done that in my life. Usually just whip these 2 10s out, let it fall out, and then go from there. So, but everything looks okay. Obviously this belt's been done before because of the paint marks and stuff. So let me go ahead. Got to take that motor mount out up there. It's just easier getting to, yeah, there's one bolt here. We're going to take the tensioner out. Let me whip that tensioner out real quick while we're here. Hold on a second. Maybe this will help you a little bit. Nah, maybe not. Okay. Back up. Okay. Hello. It's fighting me. Why am I? I don't know why that fought me like that, but it did. Be careful when you're doing something like that because you can actually round off the head of the nut. I don't have a good shot on that one, so let me crack that free. Hang on a second. All right. Wow, that's tight. All right. That'll make life a little easier. All right. Well, that came off. You saw that. Shot it across the room. But we're not concerned. See, there's a lot of tension on this side, so that means the back cam rotated. Not a big deal. Let me go find where that tensioner just flew off to, because it went flying. So not a whole heck of a lot to see, but you see there's all oil backed in there. So I'd be willing to bet that this thing just lost its tension. The tensioner itself failed. So the hydraulic portion of the tensioner failed. All right, let me go ahead and start getting all the other stuff apart. Like I said, I can't really film in there. It's just way too tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you parts and bits and pieces here and there when I get to a point. And now it was Motley Crue. Killing me. All right, anyway. So under the hood here, yes, the back belt or the back cam did rotate forward. I'm gonna have to set that. I'll set that later. I'm not concerned about it right yet. However, a lot of these people work around it. I don't like to. I hate working around it. I got to get this upper mount out over here. I just find it easier to pull all this stuff out just to make my life easier. So what I'm going to do is just yank all this stuff out of here. Actually, I got to disconnect the battery real quick. So let me do that. Hang on a second. So I got the charger on there. So, but let me just disconnect it. So now with the battery actually disconnected and I got the charger hooked back up to it, now I can start taking all of this stuff off. I'm not sure if I'm going to show you all this. To me, it's kind of boring, but basically it's just unbolt as you go. And it looks like somebody's already been in here because this connector cover is not where it should be. So it's just a bunch of brackets. Take them out. Charger's making noise. Take them out of the way. This way I can get the computer out. Just makes your life easier, at least for me personally. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, got the connectors out of the way. This one's completely missing its cover. But I got the bolts out there. There's a bolt out back there, a bolt out up there. This should come out. Oh, there's a wire loom there. I got to disconnect that. So let me do that. And then the computer will be out of the way. And I'm not sure if I have enough room once the computer's out of the way. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. So with the PCM and that out of the way, I can get to the motor mount. It looks like the motor mount might be broken. We'll address that later. But what I got to do is I have to get this mount out. I got this one bolt here. I got these two bolts here. And then I should have a bolt down below there, one there, and one over on that side. But let me get this long bolt out of this first, these two 14s out, so I can get this bracket assembly out, because then this piece has to come out too. Let me get all of that out of the way. Okay, so the bolt's out of the way for this. This bracket piece comes up and out. Now at the end, yeah, the threads came out of that. And if you look, the bolt is completely boogered up. So now I can take this mount out, and the mount is indeed broken. But we're gonna make sure that everything runs fine first before we go any further. So I'm gonna take the 3 bolts out to get this out of the way. Then I gotta take that out. There's a 14 down below, there's a 14 here, and there's a 14 inside a pocket right here. So that's why I gotta have this mount out, because otherwise it's very difficult to get to. I know people that have done it without taking that out, and I don't know why you would wanna fight with it. Just take it out. But I've seen people do it. Whatever, to each his own. All right, let me get that out. So this bracket comes up and out, and there you see that one bolt that's in that pocket. So this comes up and out. That bracket, I could probably helicoil coil it, but I'm not sure about that bolt. I probably can't save that bolt. So I'm gonna have to call Honda on Monday to find out if we can get a new bracket and a bolt. So if not, I gotta figure something out. I'll figure something out. I'm not overly worried about it. Worst comes to worst, I just get a bolt that's similar but longer and put a nut on the other side, because you can get to it. All right, so what are we looking at here? Well, obviously the belt's gonna be super loose because I took the tensioner out. There's a belt guard on the very bottom here. Sorry if I wasn't on it. That I might want to take off because it'll make my life easier going back together. But this belt is not super old, I don't think. So I think it was just the fact that the tensioner failed. So we're going to take this out. The threaded hole is here somewhere. I don't remember where. But the threaded hole, what they have you do is, if I could see it, let's see. It's there somewhere. Oh, there it is. That right there, that's a threaded hole. And what they want you to do is they want you to put a long 10 millimeter through, and it presses on this point of the tensioner, and it collapses that hydraulic portion. They want you to use part of the hold down for the battery for that. All right, because you know, the battery hold downs never get rusted up. Yeah, that's the special tool they want you to use. Anyway, so let me see about centering up this timing belt for that rear cam. Let me get the holder here for you. Then we got to change that water pump. Now, I know it's going to be not going to be a lot to see here. Probably more my shoulder than anything else. Let's see. Sorry, I got to go with my light. So that should be it, I believe. I'm going to have to double check to make sure about the timing marks, because I could see the mark on this one is just about lined up. All right. That water pump is leaking. I can see it leaking. It also doesn't feel very good when I'm rotating it. All right, let me get a bucket so I can get that underneath it, and let's unbolt that water pump. And I just want to look up the timing marks just to be certain of what I'm looking at, because some of these have multiple marks for multiple cylinders for when you're checking things like adjusting valves. So I just want to make sure what I have going on there. So I got the tensioner pulleys off. There's one, the other one fell on the floor. But as you see, the water pump's now leaking out. I have one bolt left holding it in. Right there. All right, so no big deal. Let me just show you the kit I have. Oops, I think I left my light on. No, I didn't. Okay. It's a Daco kit. There you go. This is what comes in the kit. Here's your water pump. Here's your tensioning pulley. Here's the actual hydraulic tensioner. It's held in place with the grenade pin. Here is your idler pulley for the belt. A lot of them do use this. Most of them do. This was not in on that motor. Somebody didn't install it back in place. They don't give you any instructions with these anymore. They tell you to go online to find the instructions. For some reason, I think that this is an optional piece, but I don't recall. I'm going to go look it up real quick just to make sure. I think the reason they tell you to use this is there was a service bulletin for a squeak or whatever, and they tell you to put this in place because it spaces this pulley out slightly. Now, as far as the belts or the cams go, this is how they want the forward cam, the front cam on that motor, lined up, and that's how they want the rear. The front one is the one with multiple locations, and that's for adjusting valves, whereas the rear one, it just has one location. So, not a big deal. And I know I have that lined up. So, we're going to pull that pump off, and then we're just going to clean down the surface, and we're going to do reverse procedure to install. So, with the pump off, I got to clean that surface down. I just wanted to show you this. That's the weep hole for the pump, and obviously it was leaking already. So, I don't think this is an original pump. I'm pretty sure this is a replacement pump, but what it is, I couldn't tell you. No clue. I have no idea. So, all right, like I said, I'm not going to walk you through every aspect of putting this thing back together. If I come across something that I need to point out, I will, but let me start cleaning everything off and putting it back together. And now it's Judas Priest, killing me, guys. Anyway, so I got the new pump on. And yes, that shim, they want you to stick that behind the pulley because otherwise the pulley just rides on the block, I guess, or it doesn't sit flush. I don't know, but there's a reason that they want you to do that. Just drop the bolt. But let me just show you real quick. So here is the pulley. Here is that shim washer. And what's wild is it actually says out. I don't know why. Oh, is it tapered? Is this actually tapered? I couldn't find anything that actually said. I'm gonna measure this. Is this actually tapered? I think it might be. Hold on a second. Let me get a caliper and just measure this real quick. All right, so what's the verdict here? Go up here. So let me shut that off. I got about 23. I got about 21. I got about 20. I got about 22. I got about 25. So yes, this thing is actually tapered. All right. I don't remember this. This must be something specific to this model year or something. I got to look this up and find out exactly what this is all about, because obviously being tapered means something. What? I don't know. But I want to make sure I install this the right way. I'm assuming it can only, well, I don't know. Can it be installed only one way? Probably not. Judging by where it goes, which is down here. Let's see. Which is down here on this point. It could actually install, yeah, see, it'll hit that bolt, but it can install any one of a number of different ways. So let me look up the instructions on this just to be on the safe side, just to be certain of how this is supposed to go. So it has been a while since I've done one of these, apparently. So yeah, this shim is tapered. There is a bolt in. It must have applied only certain years. Maybe I never did one. I don't recall. I don't recall seeing this before. But yeah, let me show you real quick. So here is the actual part of the bulletin, and it's talking about how this shim is tapered. See that? The shim is thicker on the left side. That tab has to face downward. And then they want you to take a 1/4 inch drive extension and put in between the block and the tang. Tighten that down. Once you tighten it down, just push the tab, basically bend that tang inward so it doesn't come in contact with the belt or anything like that. Then they want you to shave down the mount. And like I said, I don't recall any of this, so I must not have ever done one of these. I guess because the mount can get in contact with the pulley. So, yeah, so, but they want you to put the mount on, put a feeler gauge in there, measure, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm just gonna shave it down and then stick it on and be done with it. To me, it seems like a gigantic waste of time to put it on, put a feeler gauge in there, measure it. Why not just shave it down? What's it gonna change? It's not gonna change anything. So, all right, let me do that. Let me get this in place. All right, so let's get you in a tripod here. I can't get you focused on this. All right. Hopefully this is going to come out for you to see it. I don't know if it is because you're kind of in my way. So basically they want you to put a 1/4 drive here to keep that thing spaced out in that position. And then you got to tighten it. And I have this set to 33 foot-pounds, which is what they want. Don't know how this is going to come out in the video. Okay, yeah, you guys are just so much in my way, but I don't think it's going to move now. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it's tight. All right, and then 1/4 drive fits in there. I guess it doesn't have to be exact, and then they want you to bend it so it's out of the way. All right, so you see that? That's all we had to do. So now we're going to put the tensioner in place, and then we're going to throw the belt on it. Then we're going to put the tensioner pulley in place, and we're going to tighten it. And then we're going to put the belt on. Then we'll put the hydraulic portion of the tensioner on. Now real quick, with this belt tensioner piece here, there is a sleeve that has to get transferred over. I put a light film of like a wheel bearing grease on there, just so it has some kind of lubrication. Because when I pulled this out of the other one, it was completely dry, and actually like a dust came out. So just keep everything, you know, nice and nice, that's all. So now this, when it gets bolted in place, it gets this bolt that centers everything. And there again, going to be difficult to show you, but because all you're going to do is see my shoulder probably. Let's see. Maybe we can focus in a little bit. So really all that's going to happen is this is going to go down here. Now this also centers on this nub sticking off the water pump. See that? So this is going to go on here. Eventually it's going to go on there. Now the reason for that sleeve too is that sleeve keeps the bolt from bottoming out and allows this tensioner to pivot. All right. Just verify. Just got my torque wrench handy here. Okay. And whenever you're tightening something like that up, make sure that you can articulate the piece so you're not accidentally binding it up on something. Because I've done that myself. You accidentally bind it up on something, not even realizing it. So there it is, it moves nice and free. So now, just in case I got grease in my hands, just like to wipe anything off. Now we're going to throw the belt on. Let me back you up. So now this can get kind of tricky. So the back cam is the one that moves easily. So I have it centered where it needs to be. So I want to get that in place in the back here. And sometimes you got to roll the edge, like it has to tuck in like this and then fall in, if you understand what I'm saying. Like here it has to tuck in and then fall in place. Just like that. It's fighting me a little bit, but no big deal. So I'm going to walk it around, and hopefully everything's going to line up. So you get the general idea. That's what I'm doing to get the belt in place. I'm going to be all over the board, and I'm not going to be able to show you this. If I had this on an engine stand, it'd be a different story, but since I'm doing it in the car, it's a little on the difficult side. This is the taut side, from that cam to this cam to the crank down below on this side. This side is the loose side. So I want to make sure everything's taut. If I have to, I can rotate this cam slightly that way to get everything caught and then bring it back to line up the mark. That one I got to be careful of. So let me get this thing where I need it to be, and then we're going to pick up from there. I have the top pretty much lined up. But the bottom, it's lined up, but I have too much slack on this side. So, oh, and I also took the, you didn't see it, but I took this piece out. This kind of holds the belt in place, and it keeps it from, in case it breaks, keeps it from ruining the crank sensor and wiring harness. Anyway, so the top is pretty much lined up, at least I think it is. But the problem is I'm off by a tooth technically on the bottom, because if I took out this tension, I'd be off a tooth. This mark has to line up to this mark. I know I'm at an angle, but I can't help it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this up slightly. Now all I did was I put the bolt in, there's a washer behind it, and I whacked it with the gun, just like one shot. This way it would tighten up and I could at least do this. So now I'm going to get as much slack on this side as possible, and I'm going to try to walk it one tooth over. Just like that. Now, I'm going to take the tension out, or take the slack out, and hopefully that stays. So now, of course, I put that piece a little too far away. And this should go in something like this. And see, that also helps keep it from walking itself out. See that? There's two nuts that go on there, but the two nuts are up top. So I'm not too concerned about it right now, but it'll keep it from walking out. So with that upper mark lined up, you can see the top of the gear, it's already got a paint mark on it, and it lines up to that little arrow that's right there. See that? If you're off by, say, like a quarter of a tooth or a half a tooth, don't worry about it. It's close enough. These things are never going to be 100% accurate. It's close. This one's pretty close. But I've seen them to where they're a quarter tooth off, and it's just like, well, how do you fix that? You don't. Because if you went one tooth, you'd be completely off whack. So just keep that in mind. So now, I didn't touch anything with the bottom. Everything's straight up. I have tension on this side. I'm not grabbing it really hard. I have tension here and I have tension here. This side should be loose. That's fine. So now I know the bottom's lined up. And if you look, you can see the mark on the cam and you can see the mark on the cover. See it? So they're pretty darn close. And then the same thing back there. See that? Pretty darn close. Close enough. If you moved it one way or the other thinking you're off a tooth, you're going to be too far gone. So that's fine. No worries there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it back up in the air. I'm going to put the hydraulic tensioner piece in. We're going to put the two nuts on that bottom piece. We're going to put the crank pulley on it. We're going to put the computer back in it, and we're going to start this thing. All right, so here we go. Let's put this in. The grenade pin, if you're ever putting in a new tensioner and the grenade pin is sticking out, walk it out a little bit so it's flush with the backside. Sometimes it's a little difficult, especially when you're trying to film at the same time. The reason for doing that is it'll save you some aggravation because sometimes this thing will be sticking through and it'll hit something on the other side. I've had that happen plenty of times. So we're going to get this in and make sure that everything is contacting where it should. Of course, I can't see if my arms are in the way. I know my hand is in the way. I'm trying to screw this down. Okay. I got the bottom one down in place. I got a funny feeling that grenade pin is not going to be happy coming out, but we're going to see. All right, hold on a second. And here again, it's kind of difficult to film and do this at the same time. Okay. Now, whatever the torque spec is, that's what I just tightened it to. It's perfect. Not concerned in the least. All right, so let me see if I can get that grenade pin out. Sometimes they are a bear to get out. Actually hurts my hand trying to get that out. Let me get a pair of cutting pliers in there. Oh, I got a microphone on me so you can hear me as I walk away. Just go into my toolbox to get a pair of cutting pliers. All right. And not that I'm going to cut it. Just trying to walk it out. There it goes. Yeah, I was a little unhappy. So now, put these new 2 nuts in place. Now I do have to put the crank pulley on because I don't want to accidentally have this belt walk off when I start it. You can see what I'm doing there, right? Let's see. Sometimes I lose track of what I'm doing. And there's the extra washer I put in place. And the reason for that extra washer is to take up the space for the balancer. Now, I said that I had to clean the balancer and the crank. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and clean that inside of that hole a little bit. Because I'm going to have to take this back off. I just want to make sure everything's okay. I want to make sure that we don't have any valve damage or anything like that. So right now, all I'm doing is cleaning the inside of that hole a little bit. Wipe that off. And where is the belt guide piece? Here it is. Now, I've seen these installed backwards before. See how it has like a slightly concave? The curved side goes towards the belt. So the curved side's towards the belt, the edge that sticks out is towards the pulley. Because I've seen them installed backwards. See how nice that slides on? That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to slide on and off. Nice and easy, no big deal. Put the crank pulley on. All I'm going to do is whack it down with the gun. There we go. Now this is only for testing purposes because I want to put the computer in it and I want to make sure this thing's going to run. So let's go ahead and do that. So really all we're doing here, so like I said, we don't care about motor mounts or any of that other nonsense right at the moment. I'm just going to put this down into place and plug it in. The battery is still disconnected. All right, so that's all hooked up. Let's hook the battery up. Then I want to hear what this thing sounds like when it's running. Just want to make sure the motor's okay. All right, battery's good and tight. Can I reach in and start this thing? Let's find out. Hold on, I gotta articulate myself. All right. It's quiet, it's smooth. Okay. I call that a win. I call that a definite win. Customer's lucky, very lucky. Very lucky that belt didn't break. So, just shut this down. Now, I know there's gonna be a comment out there. oh, you just ruined the water pump because you started it without any coolant in the system. No, I didn't. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've never seen a water pump fail from doing this. The seals and everything else are pre-lubricated upon assembly. They have lubricant on them. They're not dry. So it'll be fine. So if you're that person that's going to comment that, just keep that in mind. No, it's not going to ruin a pump. Besides, it comes with a warranty. It's got a warranty on it. If something were to fail, I'll fix it. And I've never seen one fail, so I'm not worried about it. All right, that's going to end this video. Hopefully you got something out of that. I know it's kind of a long, lengthy video there, but hopefully you got something out of that. I'm going to end it there, obviously. I got to see what I can do about that mount and that, but that's not too concerned. I might just make a different video on that, but maybe, maybe not. I mean, what's the point? It's just putting it together with a new mount. All right, that's going to pretty much end it. I'm glad it sounds good now. All right, guys, hopefully you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, have a great day. Keep wrenching.